Keep on the sunny side, always on the sunny side. Keep on the sunny side of life. It will help us every day, it will brighten all the way. If you keep on the sunny side of life.
Welcome. Thank you for looking at our midweek message this week. You know, I love these early spring flowers. This is a Washington flower. It's called a bleeding heart. You see how it looks kind of like a heart? And some of them, if you look a little bit closer, they have a little kind of spot that makes it look like the heart is almost kind of broken. I think about that sometimes, that how there's a lot of bleeding hearts in our world, a lot of loss we've talked about. And that's why we need to be able to learn a skill as church, as people of God. And that is to affirm together, the art of affirmation. Man, I wish I was better at it. It's so easy to go negative and start to complain and to be critical. And it takes a lot of affirmation, a lot of affirming to undo just a few minutes of stressed out communication. You know, the word affirm or affirmation, it's a great word. It means to witness, to encourage by way of witness, to testify or to agree. You know, there's almost never enough affirmation out there, positive, healthy affirmation for people. There's always plenty of negative affirmation. And that means even sometimes when it seems positive, where people are encouraging you to be bad. By healthy affirmation, I mean people encouraging you to be your best. And even in the times where you're not being your best, affirming you by saying, you know, you can be better than this. You know, I heard one time say, and sometimes we need affirmation because we're not always good to ourselves. I mean, someone said never run yourself down because there's always plenty of others waiting in line to do it for you. I think there's probably a lot of truth, especially in our culture. And we should never run down ourselves, but we should never run others down either. Even people that are our perceived enemies. We've gotten into a trend in our culture, and a lot of this shows up in church, where we've broken everybody down on these lines of whether they're with us or against us on everything. And even when Jesus does not say run down your enemies, he said bless them. You know, the Bible talks about affirmation in the context of the life of church. In Ephesians 4:15, he says, but speaking the truth in love, we are to grow up in all aspects into him who is the head, even Christ. This is how we grow up to becoming like Christ. Ephesians 4:16 says, from whom the whole body being fitted and held together by what every joint supplies according to the proper working of each individual part, causes the growth of the body for the building of itself in love. This is what the church is supposed to be, a body. And we're speaking the truth together and to each other to build each other up in love, to affirm that, to build it up. You see, affirming is so critical to our growth. And affirming means speaking the truth in love. It means affirming the right expectations. And this is critical to really what it means to be church, to have church life. Verse 17 goes on to say, after it says, you know, causes the growth for the building of itself in love, he goes on and he says it specifically. So this I say, verse 17, affirm together with the Lord. In other words, we agree together, we witness together, we encourage together with the Lord. that you walk no longer just as the Gentiles also walked, in the futility of their mind, the emptiness of their mind, without thinking, without really considering things, being darkened in their understanding, excluded from the life of God because of the ignorance that is in them, because of the hardness of their hearts. You know, it's easy for us to be thoughtless, to think a little bit of religion, and then we don't have to really think the rest of the week about what we say or what we post or what we mutter under our breath. Doesn't matter, you know, especially in this super partisan political climate and crisis climate. We can be thoughtless about other people, even people that we claim to be fellow believers with. We can be hard-hearted, just callous, cruel. That's why it says, Ephesians 4:19, don't be like that. He's saying, 4:18, he's saying, don't be like those unbelievers who live in a willing ignorance and hardness of heart. And they, having become callous, have given themselves over to sensuality and the practice of every kind of impurity with greediness. This is important to understand, that there is a tendency. We can become callous. That means God convicts us and we just kind of push it down and we justify it, and pretty soon we don't feel it. Just kind of like that callus you get on your finger, you don't feel it anymore. And what you do is you begin to live a life of not just callousness, but sensuality. You know what sensuality really means? It means to live a life that doesn't use your reason, doesn't use your character, doesn't use the truth of God. You live by your senses, essentially. People, one of the founders of one of the most popular social outlets, news outlets right now, he formed it, and he said he wasn't a journalist. He was a businessman, and he said, he simply said it like this. He said, people don't want to be truly informed. They just want to feel informed. That is so true. And of course it was brilliant, because he did amazingly well in helping people feel like they know something rather than actually know something. Because you know what? A lot of times what we feel like doesn't turn out to be right. But if somebody affirms what we feel about something and helps us justify it, it can become quite profitable. And that's the world we're in, folks. So that's sensuality. It's living by your feelings. It's living by emotions. It's living by your prejudices and your untested truth claims, your uninformed suspicions, your anger, your lust, your hatred, your grudges, your sensuality, your senses. You see, we are called to live by truth. Truth. We are to speak the truth in love. Ephesians 4:20 says, but you did not learn Christ in this way. Now, that's what the church is supposed to be known for. We did not learn Christ this way. This is not what church is supposed to teach us. But I'm afraid some folks, some of you maybe, have learned Christ this way. This is what has come across. This is what you've been taught. We are not to live sensual lives. We are to live our lives by truth. Ephesians 4:21 says, if indeed you have heard him. See, this is everything about the Christian life. If indeed you have heard him and have been taught in him, just as the truth is in Jesus. You want to know how you're supposed to be? You want to know how you're supposed to talk? You want to know how you're supposed to act toward other people, your friends and your enemies? It is Jesus. The truth is in Jesus. In Ephesians 4, if indeed you have heard him and have been taught in him, just as the truth is in Jesus. Now, we all fall short of the glory of God, which is Christ. That's what grace is for. And we learn and we grow. We're a learning family. You know, the whole life, your whole life, your whole life is being measured and orchestrated by God, that you can become more conformed to the image of Christ. When you're in there in that little group of people that you work with, or kids you work with, or whatever you do, your family, It's all being orchestrated so that you can be conformed to the image of Christ. Romans 8:28, remember this verse? You hear it a lot. And we know that God causes all things to work together for good for those who love God and are called according to his purpose. But what is his purpose? All this stuff going on in your life, pandemics and politics and conflicts, good things, bad things, what's going on? It all works together for good for those that love God and are called according to his purpose. What is that purpose? So that you can fill a church seat every week? Well, it's good to go to church, but that's not the purpose. So that you can have a ministry or you can fill in a workbook. Those are good things to do, but that's not God's ultimate purpose. His purpose is this. For those he foreknew, he also predestined. Here's what God had in mind. To become conformed to the image of his Son, so that he would be the firstborn among many brethren. Everything God's doing in your life is to help you love like, be like, react like, talk like Jesus. And how do we do this? How do we help each other in this? We do this by affirming truth with each other. We speak the truth in love. We speak the truth, but we do it in love. We don't just say, well, that's true. The perversion of truth is brutality, but we do it in love. Affirming the good of being and responding like Christ, and confronting the bad that isn't like him. We help each other chisel away everything around and in our lives that doesn't look like Jesus. And that's why Ephesians 4:22 says that in reference to your former manner of life, you lay aside the old self, which is being corrupted in accordance with the lust of the sea. Don't just keep living like that. And you be renewed in the spirit of your mind. Your thinking changes. You put on a new self, which is in the likeness of God, has been created in righteousness and holiness and truth. Therefore, laying aside falsehood, speak truth, each one of you with his neighbor. For we are all members of one another. Be angry, yet do not sin. Do not let the sun go down in your anger, and do not give the devil an opportunity. You can't walk around being angry and be like Jesus. Even if you feel like your anger is justified, you don't like the government, you don't like this, you don't like that, you don't like your neighbor, you don't like your in-laws or your outlaws, it doesn't matter. Do not let the sun go down in your anger, even if you feel justified. Because if you do, you give the devil an opportunity. Let me affirm you in this. I want to affirm you to do the right thing. And I want to affirm you in truth, to chisel away, allow God and allow other people to help you not live a life of sensuality, but a life of truth. We need each other. We need affirmation. And maybe that's a good reason you could come this Sunday, or you could watch the weekend message coming up. We're going to be talking about relearning church, but it's going to be about moms. You'll be surprised what a role mothers play, and the role of mothers, not just biological mothers, but spiritual mothers in the lives of others. Now remember, on Sunday we have an in-person indoor service at 8 with Mass, an outdoor service at 9:30 downstairs in the patio area, and at 11 o'clock indoor service. It's going to be Mother's Day, and it's a great time to be together and do it as safe as we can. God bless you, and I can't wait to see you, and I can't wait for you to hear this weekend's message.